Hey everybody, I hope that you are all doing well today. So continuing on the theme that I started a few weeks ago of covering some of the mods out there that are a little bit more unknown, a little bit underappreciated, let's say, that add value to the game. I have one today that I think adds some good immersion value. It's actually a blast from the past. It is a mod that I used, more than a year ago, and then I was a little bit worried that it wasn't still being updated, so I kind of dropped it off my mod list for a little while. Well, I'm happy to say that not only has it been updated as recently as 2 days from the time that I'm recording this video, but it also now has an additional submod that has been added that I'm going to talk about as well. So I'm going to talk about the two of these together. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. This is called Lore Names, Renamed Factions, and New Evolving Names. So it doesn't actually change the functionality of your game at all. This is not one that's going to make the grand strategy, the proper total war that so many of the mods that I cover do. This one is just strictly about immersion. And what this does is it kind of creates a more, let's say, a deeper naming system for the different factions. It is still loreful, but it also becomes a little bit more complex than what the regular old vanilla faction names are. So let's talk about that for a second. You can see right here the different names. This is an example here. The different names of a faction that occur as your faction sort of, let's call it levels up. So here you can see this is an example with the Exiles of Khorne. This is, of course, Skarbrand, where he starts out with the simple old Exiles of Khorne name, but as he grows and gets more skulls, then his name of his faction changes. And this is quite interesting. This is an example here now of Kislev. So what I like about this is it just feels more dynamic. It feels like as civilizations within this game not only survive but grow, their names change as well as they incorporate more land, as they potentially confederate other factions, things like that. So it just kind of adds to a little bit more dynamism in your campaigns. So how exactly does it determine when to change the name of a particular faction? Well, I'm glad you asked that. So it does appear as though it depends on which faction you're talking about, because it's not the same for all of them. Let's just show an example here with, I don't know, let's go with the Empire. So that would be right here. If we click on them, and we can kind of scroll through here and see more information about the naming schemes for these particular factions. You can see right here, lists of provinces needed for each level below. So Reichland, for example, is going to go from the city-state of Altdorf to the Grand Principality of Reichland to the Empire of Man to the Greater Sigmarite Empire. You can see here the other imperial factions all have their own lists. But then let's come down here to the bottom where it talks about how does it change from one to the next. Well, level 2 occurs when you control 4 regions, or if you're the Hunts Marshal, 10. And at level 3, it's 32 regions, or for the Hunt Marshal, 20. Or for level 4, it is controlling 50 regions, or for the Hunts Marshal, 30. So that's how it works for the Empire. But how does it work for, I don't know, let's say maybe Nurgle here. So let's find Kugath. So Kugath is starting out as Kugath's Poxmakers. Now in this case, he goes to the second name, the Foul-Breathed, at character level 15, and then the Fetid Brewmasters at level 30, and then the Plague Weavers at level 50. So you can see here that appears to be how it is for all of your different Chaos Lords. So, like I said, you're just going to have to double check, or else just play the game and, it'll kind of happen organically and you don't really probably need to worry about it too much. But I like the fact that there's a little bit of dynamics at play here in terms of the different names. There's some thought put into how exactly the factions, let's quote unquote say, level up during the course of a campaign. So anyway, a lot of the fun of a mod like this is to learn sort of as you're playing, what all the different factions factions names are going to be. So yeah, I'm going to let you kind of discover that for yourself. I don't want to steal all of their thunder, but anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about some examples then inside the game. We are here in game, and you can already see how some of these names have changed. Now, let's talk about the submod for a second, because what the submod just did is it changed it here on this starting menu screen, the Lord selection screen. This used to all remain vanilla, so it didn't match up with what it would look like in game. Now, the reason why they didn't originally change, when I say they, I'm not actually sure if it's a team or if it's a single mod author. Anyway, the reason why this wasn't originally changed is because now that it is being changed, it doesn't change the sequencing of things. They're still alphabetical order based on their vanilla names, so it can be a little bit confusing now because it doesn't look anymore like it's in alphabetical order. So just so you understand, they are still in alphabetical order according to vanilla. So anyway, so he made it basically optional whether you wanted to use a submod that changes it on this screen or not. But in any case, you can see here that we've got some far more interesting names for some of the factions here. Let's talk about the new ones that were added in the last DLC. So I mentioned that it has been this mod has been updated as recently as just a couple of days ago. So you can see here, of course, Gorbad is in here. He is the Ironclaw tribe. In fact, all of your greenskins, with the exception of Grimgor here, have the name tribe in them. I noticed the same thing being in game, and I'll show an example of that in just a moment. It looks to me like the Heralds of Khorne all keep the original names. I can't remember for sure if, yeah, I think those are the original names from Vanilla. And then you have the Ogre Kingdoms here. Great Hall of Greasus is Greasus's new faction name. Disciples of the Maw is the same, of course, and Gold Figs Man-Eaters. Yes, I know I mispronounced it. I'm sure you all know by now that YouTube doesn't like his name. So anyway, very interesting. And like I said, the names will change over time as the factions rise and fall and survive and turns pass, etc., etc. So let's just look at some more of these examples here. We've got the Cloven ones. This is, of course, the Beastmen. You can see right here. I'm just going to go through. I'm not going to show it literally every single faction, but you can see some of the name changes. Let's show a really popular one here, like Karl Franz. This is now starting out as the city-state of Altdorf, and you have the Golden Expedition, the Hunts Marshal's Expedition, City of Sudenburg, and Grand Duchy of Wissenland. So you can see in some cases no changes, in other cases there are fairly pronounced changes. Let's do one more here before I jump into the game itself and show some examples of that. Let's look at the High Elves, because I noticed the High Elves are definitely, I just have to find the High Elves. So they're going to be the Asur now. So this is a good example of how it doesn't look like they're in alphabetical order anymore, but of course they are, because this is High Elves. So yeah, you can see right here, now all of a sudden instead of Eataine, we have Kingdom of Eataine. In fact, Lore Master's Expedition. Most of these others are Kingdom of, and then their previous name. But not all of them. So Kingdom of Ivras, and okay, actually half of them are and half of them aren't. All of the High Elf kingdoms on Ulthuan are listed as Kingdom of such and such, which I will show in just a moment. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump into the game and show some of these examples in action. So here we are with Slaanesh, and Slaanesh allows us to now see a bunch of the other factions here on Ulthuan, and as you can see, they are listed as Kingdoms of whatever. We have Morathi's, Pleasure Cult, and Followers of Cain, Skull Crag Tribe, and the Bloody Reavers. That are all of our neighbors down here in the beginning of this campaign. And then for another example, here is Queek Skulltaker, and you can see the factions around him have changed their names as well. We've got a couple different more green-skinned tribes here. Heralds of Khorne, as I mentioned before, still the same name. Savage Orcords look like they are getting the word tribe added to their names as well. and then we have the undead realms instead of the vampire counts. So there it is in a nutshell. That's a pretty simple mod overall. I think you probably get the idea. It is it's just a way to add a little bit of additional theme to your campaign in an immersive way. And yeah, anyway, so I was just very pleased when I saw that this was not only still being updated, but actually improved upon a little bit when they added the sub mod to make the main menu screen match up with the rest of the what's happening in game. So again, as always, let me know if you guys have any experience with this particular one, and also let me know if you have any ideas for any of the other little less well-known mods that you would like for me to cover. I think I'll go ahead and leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next video.